time. Um, Feel free to put it in the chat. I put a link that you can go and watch the movie again, and you can share it with whoever you want. So that link is there. I think Toby, you mentioned Anjo and Sascha. So Anjo passed away in March, and it was Anjo and his wife Sascha that came up with the character of LUKi, and they're from the Netherlands. Toby, do you want to talk a little bit about like the initial inspiration for them creating the character and wanting to take it to this level?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And thank you. Just first off, thank you for everybody sharing your story, and thank you for joining us tonight and watching LUKi. It means a lot for us to share this with all of you, and like Lorri said, we definitely want you to share and go watch it again on Global Neuro YCare's website, especially if it was freezing up. But yeah, so Sascha and Anjo, who you saw at the very end of the film, created this robot character. And this was the original design for the character. It had like some wires sticking out of the back, but there was gigantic light bulbs in pretty much all the areas of the joints. And they, were teachers by trade. Anjo was working in the military, and they had no idea how to explain it to their little ones, both of which were under the age of 10. And Sascha came up with the idea and started drawing their little robot character to allow their kids to kind of follow along and fill in the light bulbs as, Anjo's diagnosis was progressing. And visually, it just kind of clicked for them to understand what was going on. And they had been kind of putting LUKi, this robot character, on beer cans and fundraisers and all kinds of crazy stuff that we can't do in America for fundraising, especially with animated kids. Um, and it kind of blew up a little bit, kind of became an unofficial mascot over in the Netherlands. And then a friend of theirs told them they should make an animated short film. And God bless them for doing that. And they, eventually found Big Ren, but had reached out to Melinda, I think about a month before us, because they had found Melinda's work. And Melinda can speak to that. But we very early on kind of saw the opportunity, and I'll have Adrian speak to his personal connection to this as well. But once I heard Anjo's story and hearing Sascha's side of it as well, there wasn't a lot of material out there for children, or at least in animation. Like, this is the very first time it's ever been done, so it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
Oh.
ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
Adrian?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, when they reached out to us, when Anjo and Sascha reached out to us, when we found out, I found out that Anjo had ALS, and that's what the story was about. I have a personal connection to ALS because my grandfather passed away of ALS in 1994, and I just remember when he first got diagnosed, he was having trouble swallowing, and at that time we had no idea what ALS was. Some people knew it as Lou Gehrig's disease, other people knew it as ALS, but our family was new to us. And within a year from being diagnosed, he passed away. So when we heard Anjo's story, like, I was super enthusiastic about doing whatever I could to try to get his story, seen and created.
Yeah. I found it interesting that they were both teachers, and they said, we are trained to tell kids about hard things, that, we're trained to do that, but yet that they were, just at a loss, like all of us, as to the best approach. So, Melinda, why don't you tell a little bit about how Global Neuro YCare like ties into the film?
Yeah. No, part of the reason why we created Global Neuro YCare, it was something that was actually in the back of my mind for many years because of the work I've been doing with children and youth and ALS at that global level. And I had actually partnered with some folks in the Netherlands to translate my graphic novel into Dutch. And that's how Sascha found me. This colleague said, "Oh, hey, wait, there's a woman who wrote this book for children and youth. You should find her." And so she did. And that's how I connected up with Sascha and Anjo to be a part of the film. But Global Neuro YCare came about again from work I'd been doing for many years, and really needing and recognizing as I traveled the world and went to different meetings that people were saying there's nowhere on a global level for this kind of resource. There's no materials that are in different languages or have no language, right? And it makes things inaccessible. It puts up roadblocks, and it puts up families kind of feeling like Sascha and Anjo did, isolated from any sort of resources. Because, at the time we had quite a few things here in the US, but they were all in English, right? So the creation of Global Neuro YCare was to kind of take everything we had, partner with organizations around the world, which we do every day. I just had a meeting with folks in South Korea, and they're translating all 5 of the books for children and families into Korean. And in working with Big Grin and Adrian and Toby and Sascha and Anjo, it really just became clear that when LUKi would be finished, he needed a home, and really Global Neuro YCare just was at the perfect time to kind of set it up and say, hey, let's all become partners and kind of put this together. So Global Neuro YCare is, it's where you can watch LUKi free of charge. Just watch it anytime, 100 times, 1,000 times. And also on the website, we created a coloring book that goes along with the film, so kids can kind of follow the story. It pauses in a few places to ask them questions about caregiving, about how they maybe feel at intense parts of the film. So it kind of gives kids a little breather if they want to follow along in color. But then there's also another book. It's educational resources, and it's for families to really look over. And there's a whole section on frequently asked questions. Maybe some families want to think about it or look it over before they show it to their children, because it shows the reality, right? We all just watched it, the reality. So Global Neuro YCare is a home for resources, education across language, no language, all of it for children around the world.
Yeah. And, I have received a couple of messages when I released the episode about the film saying that it's too heavy, it's too sad for children. I mean, it's sad for all of us. I mean, and ALS is sad. Melinda, with your background, can you talk about that a little bit? Like, why it is important to not let that stop you, or, what's your perspective?
Absolutely. I mean, from a professional perspective, I don't think it should stop anybody, right? I mean, we want to be honest. That's why the film was made so spectacularly by, Toby and Adrian. Like, this is the reality of the story, right? This is what happens. And it's told in a very accessible way. What I do want families to be aware of or be prepared for is if you are a new family, perhaps it's an early diagnosis, and perhaps you're still trying to grapple with your own feelings of the diagnosis and how then do I share that. We put kind of guardrails in place, if you will, by, giving these educational materials to families so that they can watch, they know what is in store in the film, so that they can prepare their children. Because we have had some families who were very early on in the diagnosis watch it and kind of hadn't realized that it showed the totality of LUKi's experience living with ALS. And by no means does that mean that, you shouldn't tell your children or you shouldn't show it to children at all. We just want to give parents and families those resources to be able to feel comfortable and say, I'm going to walk through frequently asked questions. I'm going to watch the film. We have a whole section in the education book that helps families kind of have dialogue with your children while they're watching it. So it's broken out by section. So if you're feeling like, your child is having some really strong emotional reactions, there's some questions that you can ask. You can kind of engage in conversation with your children. And what we also say is, you've watched it, it's only 10 minutes, but you don't have to watch the whole thing in one sitting, right? And you all know your children and grandchildren and youth better than we do. So, you can stop and take a pause and kind of get a sense of how they feel. But we just wanted to make sure that we created this film that was honest, that was accessible, but also had resources for those families that needed that support in advance of showing the film.
Yeah. And there was a question that came in that was asking about, how you handle the fact that this is such a sensitive subject and, not wanting to cause fear and anxiety to that child. Are you saying that these additional resources and, in the guide map that you've created is intended to address that from the beginning?
Absolutely. That's really well said, Lorri. It absolutely. So in the guide, there's a section of Ask LUKi, and it's for young children. So like for really young children to ask like, what does this mean? And what does that mean? So that they can kind of ask questions of LUKi. Then there's another Ask LUKi that we wrote for older youth, kind of teenage, young adults, that really kind of captures some of the complexity that they might be asking. And then we have the section where families can kind of ask questions and guide discussion throughout the film or prior to the film. These are materials that you can use in any way you want. We just want to make sure that you know that you have all those resources and that support, which was so critical to all of us, that support was available, and families use it however they want to use it. It's entirely up to them to use at their need and at their will. And it's all free of charge, free downloadable. There's no cost to any of it.
Yeah. And my great niece loves the coloring book. And, that really, really helped her. A couple of things that came in. How can children who watch the film get involved with supporting ALS awareness or helping other families affected by ALS? And one thing that comes to my mind real quick is in our chat on the podcast, we talked about that the film, one of the goals of the film was to empower children to tell other children about ALS. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I never even thought about that, but so how else can they get involved? Like share the film, or what else do you suggest?
Well, I'll say something. I'm sure Toby and Adrian have lots to add as well. It's interesting that you say this because I just had this almost exact conversation with an organization that I partner with, and they were asking that question, and we really brainstormed. And I think a wonderful opportunity is, particularly children and youth kind of struggle with how to tell their friends that they have a family member, a mom, a dad, or grandpa with ALS. Sometimes it's kind of an awkward thing for 10, 12, 13-year-olds to say. So one thing they absolutely can do is talk to their teacher, talk to their school, and do a showing of LUKi at their school, either in a special time, in class, whatever it is. That'll take the onus off the children and for having to tell everybody about ALS. It's a film that's accessible for kids way outside the ALS community. And they can also have, if it's for younger kids, they can have the coloring book there in class. They can work with the school social workers or school counselors to kind of have those conversations, but it gets the word out and it lets the kids kind of share that diagnosis without having to be the teller of the diagnosis. So it's a really good advocacy tool and a support tool.
Yeah, I love that. Now, do we need permission of any kind, or since the film is now available on Global Neuro YCare website, can we just share it? Can we use the materials? Do we need to contact anyone or anything like that?
The materials I would love if I saw them on everyone's coffee table from here to the end of the world. So download, print, hand out, mail to everyone you know. The film is absolutely available. It's not downloadable, but all you have to do is go on the website and click play and expand your screen. And so you're just doing that. So it's freely available. You don't have to pay to watch it. So please, the goal is for people to watch it, and you never know who's going to see it and say, "Oh, wow, this is up for an Oscar." Oh,
Yeah.
wow, what's going
Yeah.
on with ALS?
Yeah.
You never know
Yeah.
who's going to watch it.
Yeah. Toby and Adrian.
Oops.
This is
Can I get caught up in the chat real quick?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
There might be some other things that pop up out of here.
Okay. Perfect.
So Rachel shared that today is the 1 year anniversary of losing her mom, Sandra, to ALS, and it feels appropriate to be watching this today. She envisioned writing a book to help kids process ALS, but she didn't get to it. So many tears, but this is beautiful. Thank you for this and all the work I know that went into it. Carolyn says the fact that there is no dialogue per se is such a great decision and that it can be understood globally. Thank you for the link. The more resources you share, the better. Let's see here. I feel you captured the main turning points of the disease progression. It's a lot for the real young to still understand, but seeing this visual guide in a kid-friendly way with the opportunity to watch it multiple times and to periodically pause to explain what's happening can be very impactful. Our children were 12 and 15 when we told them about Jason, their dad, and this would have been very helpful for them. I love it. Thank you for doing this. I'm so glad this made it to you, Toby and Adrian. Such good work. Everybody says it's so sad. It's so authentic for me as a former caregiver. The caregiving parts really touched me. The love between LUKi and his friends came through so beautifully and tenderly. There are a few resources for children. My husband was diagnosed when our son was 2. He passed away when son was 6, now 8. The short film does so much on so many levels, taking abstract and heavy, becoming understood and familiar. This exposure, this platform creates a starting point to speak with honesty to realities and complexities of life and death in a safe place. Very necessary, very supportive. Thank you. I'd like to take the opportunity to comment on LUKi painting as a pastime and shamelessly, oh yes, Ellen, shamelessly plug our upcoming Artistry of ALS artist panel coming up on Thursday evening with the sign up link there. Melinda shared the coloring book and we are caught up. Thank you.
Toby or Adrian, do you want to talk about the lights, LUKi and the lights, that might help also explain to children the significance of that?
Sure. Something I would like to circle back to just real quickly to your last question and what Melinda was sharing about with the kids is, we've have been fortunate enough to screen LUKi all over the world in film festivals, and Melinda's going to organizations, and now we're sharing it with all of you. We obviously want to keep that ball rolling, and we've won at quite a few festivals, which is pretty awesome. And half of those wins have actually come from audience members, which is great because at the end of the day, audience is always going to pay for the ticket and tell filmmakers if their movie is good or not. Out of those audience members, pretty much all of those wins have been from children. The age range of the cohort of those kids is primarily from 5 to 6 all the way up to 18. And we just most recently won. We haven't announced it yet, but we just got the email. We won in, Adrian, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Montreal. And another older win earlier this year was in Spain. So there's wins from children all over the world and stuff like that have enjoyed this film. And it's been, from my perspective, and learning so much about ALS from Anjo and just reading as much as possible, and from Melinda, it's been interesting to see different groups, people with ALS and communities resonate with this film, people outside of that being able to resonate with it. People come up to us at festivals and say like, oh, I remember the ice bucket challenge, but I actually had no idea what the heck I was doing or what it was for. And now I actually get it. And I understand, it's the connection, with the wiring and that sort of thing. So it's been really incredible to see just everything kind of come together with that. And Lorri, to your question about the light bulbs, and Adrian, unless you want to jump in.
No, I just wanted to add that we know that ALS is one of the diseases that's less funded. And I remember when we were making the film, a few people were like, why ALS? Like, why not do cancer or AIDS? Like, there's so much money in it. You can probably get it made faster and quicker. But, that wasn't the point. The point was to get ALS to be talked about, to be shared, to raise awareness. And hopefully one day we can find a cure to this horrible disease.
Yeah. Yeah. And the light bulb idea really, again, from Sascha and Anjo, it wasn't, about being able to change out the light bulb. When the kids were asking, well, why not just go get surgery and fix your wrist or, fix your knee or whatever it may be, right? And it's, all of you know that you can't just kind of open up the body and, replace the wiring, if you will, or the light bulb in this metaphor. So by being able to kind of demonstrate that visually and illustrate that connection point with the wiring being the fail point for the actual physical light bulb, their children were able to understand that. And then, like I was sharing, a lot of the audience members were able to kind of understand that. And also just visually, it allows us to have some sort of progression with the film, knowing that, there's this disease can kind of start, maybe it's in the throat or it's, in the extremities and things like that. But visually, we wanted to create a progression for LUKi, much like where it started in extremities for Anjo, and then kind of progressing up. So going from the hands to the legs, so from standing to sitting and into the bed. Storytelling wise, visually, it gives us a sense of progression, and we're able to kind of follow along that way.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about real quick, because it is a sad film, because it is a sad and heavy topic. I just wanted to talk about some of the positive elements like that I at least pulled from it. I have a whole list. I'm just gonna rattle them off, and then anyone can comment or add. But I was like, he was proactive, making his wheelchair. He valued the importance of community. He had joy when he was with his friends, even though he was in a wheelchair. And like my 5-year-old great niece said, he looks like he feels a lot better than he was in his wheelchair. He was back at the soccer field with his friends, even though he was in a wheelchair. He was still painting when he was in bed, still contributing and having a passion for painting. And then someone else already commented in the comments about the flashback, remembering the good times. So I thought that was really important that you put that in there.
So I had amazing friends that became caretakers.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, putting their hands over their heart. When he passed, they reached over and held each other like we got each other, kind of thing. So those are some of the things that I noticed that were good for me, when I have conversations with my great niece about the disease, about our family interaction with ALS. So if anyone wants to comment on, anything like that, that'd be great.
I've also seen the film so many times, and every time I see it, I see something new.
Yeah.
I was showing it to so when the board of the foundation, the first time they saw it, it was quite a long time ago, but one of our board members is a physician in South Africa, and he said that about LUKi making their own wheelchair. Like, he said that was the biggest and the best takeaway for him was just how it showed that you can create your own new normal. Like everybody's new normal just looks however it looks. But that was his primary takeaway out of the whole film. He just loved it. And he said it's such a great inspirational section in the film. So I love that you brought that up, Lorri.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of little Easter eggs in the film. So when you go back and watch it for the second or third or fourth time, Anjo was this guy that loved Dungeons and Dragons. So we have a little, Easter egg fun in there for Dungeons and Dragons, and Anjo being kind of this painter of these little figurines and being a dungeon master when he used to host the game and stuff like that, led me to kind of pull inspiration from Anjo's story and pepper that into LUKi's character and kind of breathing life into LUKi. So we have a lot of fun in that as well. And many of you might not know that Anjo is actually the voice of the big yellow guy, the friend Theo. So we were able to capture Anjo's voice and kind of immortalize him in the film as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. If no one has any other questions, I wanted to see if you guys could share what we can do to help get LUKi and ALS MND to the red carpet in January.
Share the film with everybody you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's probably the most super basic, but definitely every interaction you have, any organization you're a part of, any support group, any non-support group, any friend group, church, whatever group you are, share the film, share the story. You never know who's going to watch it, who might know somebody who's, can move it forward in different ways. That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. To that point, we've been told, for this whole Oscar stuff, it really helps to have a what they call an EP, an executive producer, come on board, but somebody that actually cares about the movie. So somebody, maybe they're the celebrity or influencer or something like that, that actually supports the cause and the mission and things like that, much like all of you are. That's a big help. So, trying to find somebody in that nature, like Melinda said, watch the film, go watch it again, share it, that sort of thing. And something that I think that would be really neat is to have people leave, we obviously love the reviews on IMDb and on a thing called Letterboxd, but I think it would be cool now with, social media is like leaving a review on Instagram or TikTok and just talking about how this film impacted you. Lorri, what you did with your niece the other, couple weeks back, I thought that was incredible. And that was, Adrian and I would be talking late at night about this, just struggling on the film. But when I see things like that, or, I'm hearing some of the comments in the chat and stuff like that, I was like, man, all of the struggles and pain and, late nights of suffering.
It was a lot of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the film did take us 2 years and 7 months. So.
Yeah. And we knew we were already on borrowed time working with Anjo, so we were just really pressing the team really hard to get the work done as quickly as possible so that they could enjoy it before he went.
Yeah, and he was able to do that.
Yeah, multiple times, thankfully.
Yeah, we did. Just so everybody knows, it was really fun. The first time the film was shown in any sort of public ALS space was at the International ALS and Motor Neuron Disease meeting. It was that year in Basel, Switzerland. And Sascha and Anjo and both of their daughters and Sascha's mom all came, and we had like a little pseudo baby red carpet. And so, we got to show it to them, but also, really as a give back to the community, all the international organizations that were there. I mean, it was really fantastic. So he was definitely there for that.
Yeah.
Can you just clarify? There was one question, just making sure we're allowed to post this on our organization's socials. I'm not sure what that
post what?
I'm guessing going back to the film. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, just it's a straightforward, it's like globalneuroycare.org. I think it's a backslash.
Yeah, it's
LUKi and the Lights full movie.
Yep.
That link, yeah, please send that, share it. That'll take you straight to the movie. And right below the movie, when you're looking at the movie on the screen, right below it is where the materials are. And I actually posted direct links to both materials in the chat, the coloring book and the family educational resource. So they're there as well.
And
so
I'm
you
going
can
to
easily access them.
And so everybody has access to it. I'll send a post-meeting thank you tomorrow with all of the links and everything. So you'll have everything in your inbox. So we have 1 minute left, Lorri.
Yep.
I know.
No,
Well, I'll just
I mean,
really quick, let me just catch us up in the
Yeah.
chat. Just everybody's just continuing to say how amazing the time was. The film was amazing. It's touched their lives. Someone said they're going to spread this like peanut butter, which I think is funny. Let's see. Yeah, so everybody's excited and can't wait to share.
Amazing.
And
Thank
I
you.
love all the hashtags. Thank you. I think I'm the world's worst social media human. So I love all the different hashtags. I think, Lorri, you did that because you are really good at those.
Well,
Okay.
I think I got it from Toby, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Toby, for those.
That's a team effort here.
But
Yeah.
no, I think it would be really amazing to get the Academy's attention, for them to be like, what is that? Who's this LUKi guy? And like, why is everyone tagging us?
Right.
That alone I think would be huge. So any review, like Toby said, that you can do on social media. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a video, just be, a couple of sentences about it and why it's important to you and our community, I think is invaluable. So I just cannot thank Toby, Adrian, Melinda, everything that you've done for this film. I know it's been a lot of work, and I know that we'll continue to champion all that you've done and help push it forward. So, and thanks to everyone for jumping on. I think it was really special to watch it together. This community is pretty special, and when you have hard stuff like this, it makes it a little bit easier. So thank you all for taking the time.
And thank you.
Thank you, Lorri, for doing
Yeah.
this.
Lorri,
Sorry.
thanks for
Yeah,
everyone
thank
for
you, Lorri.
doing this.
You were a rock star. Yeah, thank you.
Agree. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you, Lorri, for doing such an amazing job bringing this together for us. And like I said, I will be sending out a note tomorrow with all the links, and we look forward to seeing you soon. If you want to see us again this week, as Ellen said, we have another event coming up on Thursday night, and we would love to see you
Yes.
soon. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.